What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to talk about a change that the NFL is talking about making, something that we wouldn't see this season. Obviously, we're already past this point, but when you look at next season, next offseason, we could see a change in how the NFL does offseason programs for teams. So, what we had this year, right? You had the draft happen, then you had phase one workouts that started on April 15th. So that's before the draft. Then the draft happens. You have rookie mini camps, and then they get into their offseason program after that point, right? And we've seen May 21st through 23rd, the first wave of OTAs. Right now, they're going through their second wave of OTAs. They could add more OTA practices. They can have up to 10. They only have 6 scheduled. So we'll see if they add any, but seems like they're just going to keep it light on the players. Still a long way away from training camp, at least from where they're at in their offseason program. Training camp a little ways away for them, so taking it light for them. Right, they all have more vacations to go on, so they have 2 OTAs, and then when you look at what they have coming up, mandatory minicamp. That's the one where everybody has to be at. And the Colts, for the most part, I feel like with all the content the Colts put out, you're seeing pretty much everybody. I'm pretty sure everybody is at Colts OTAs anyways. But the mandatory minicamp, when that comes around, everybody on the team is going to have to be there. That's June 4th through the June 6th. So that's the offseason program for the Colts. Obviously, training camp starts in July and goes through the preseason and into August and whatnot. So that's the offseason program, how it's always been. At least, in my memory, and for what I know, that's how the offseason program has been. There's obviously been small tweaks here and there in how they've done it. How much time can teams get on the field and whatnot, as they continue to look out for player safety, that continues to change. And it's interesting with them looking at player safety. Will this help that or will this hurt that? Right. With player safety, like you're turning the season. What they want to do is make it to where teams come in early to mid June and then basically go all the way until the Super Bowl teams would go until early mid February. So that's a really long season, right? These players already have a long season. This kind of making it longer, right? There's no break between those mandatory mini camps and training camp. It all runs together. So when you look at it that way, will that be better for player safety, right? There's some arguments to be said that, yeah, it could be better for players. You don't have to ramp up and then take time off and then come back and start ramping up again. You can just get at it with phase one of workouts. You can have your rookie mini camps and whatnot right after the draft. And then after that, it's you wait until phase one, to start that in early June, and then you have OTAs after that, and then jump right into training camp. So it'll be interesting to see how they decide they want to structure it. Is this a possibility? Like, I think this is something that is going to have to be voted on in the league meetings next offseason. So this isn't a definite, but it's something they're talking about. And the way it's being talked about is like this is something that we could definitely see happen, right? And Aaron Rodgers talked a few years ago about how, when he came in, I think he was talking about the COVID year and the way everything worked there, and he ended up coming in later than he normally does. Right, his arm felt better throughout the season than it normally would because he's not putting reps on it in April and in May. Right, so waiting until June to start throwing for quarterbacks could be a positive, right? It helps keep their arm fresh. It helps keep everybody in a rhythm from the time they start until the end of the season, right? There is no time for teams to take off, and maybe some of these young guys coming in, between mandatory minicamp and training camp, that little bit of time there, like if they're not in the playbook every day, maybe there's some intricacies that they'll forget, right? In the instance of what they want to do and you just keep it rolling, there's not a whole lot of time to forget. You're going to keep repping things day in, day out. You're going to have chances to be able to see the different looks and to be able to get the knowledge of what you need to do on the field. Continue studying when you're off the field because it's all together, right? There is no off time from when it starts. So There are definitely positives. I think there could be negatives when you talk about player fatigue. You talk about, again, how long these seasons are. Like, this is something where you could definitely see a team that starts hot and they just fade as the year goes on, right? That happens every year. Last year, it happened with the Eagles. Just the way the season already is the Eagles started 10-1, and then they completely fell off, and then shit the bed in the playoffs. So when it comes down to it, like if this change is enacted in 2025, it could have impacts on pretty much every team, right? Having to get used to how long the season would be in that instance, right? It gets longer by a month and a half or so at that point. So an interesting change, something that I thought was meaningful to talk about because it could definitely affect us in the future, right? Just as I was talking about any other team, could definitely affect us in the way we work, especially with having such a high powered offense. This could be a really good change. But when you talk about the defense, right, if you're lacking a little bit on defense, that defensive fatigue as the season goes on could be a problem. So we'll see how it affects. Again, this isn't a 2024 problem. This is something that has to be voted on, and we could see start in 2025, but just something to look out for in the future. Of course, want to know what your opinion is of this. You let me know down in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified anytime any more videos come out on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.